time.
It's time.
And now, it's time for Herman and Sharron.
I love you. Thank you so much. Sharron is out of town, and we're still together. She's enjoying her family. She loves family. I'm telling you, more than me. No, I'm just kidding. No, she's enjoying herself, and I love that, because when you get to be our age, especially her age, wait till she hears this one. She is really says, you know what, I have to spend more time, because, you know, we don't know how many years we're going to have, so I got to spend more time with my family. So I love when she does that. But today's interview is going to be impactful to you. James M. Eyans, listen to this, was a former pro football player with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is now president and senior consultant of Eagle Quest Group, Inc., which trains and educates people in the fundamentals of the power of human worth. James is passionate about helping others connect to their true purpose and meaning. And he happens to be physically in the studio. Right here he is. How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
It was important to be big, right?
Yes, yes.
When you're on the football field.
Yes, it was important.
I remember in high school I found out I was not a football player.
Okay.
Because I went out for their 2-week camp.
Right.
I was athletic, but
right.
I found out that wasn't mine.
Right.
And man, by the time that 2 weeks was over, every piece of my body ached.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried to kill me.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it amazing
Yeah.
what your body can take?
Exactly. Yeah. It's pushed to the limit. That's why we're called gladiators.
That is. Now, tell me about your background, because I mean, it is absolutely amazing that you're sitting here.
Right, Herman. Yeah.
You shouldn't be.
Well, absolutely.
But God had another plan.
He did. I grew up on a farm in Thomaston, Alabama. My mother had 17 boys and 4 girls. And out of the 17, 15 of us survived and made it to pretty much.
And you mean that survived?
Yeah, survived, yeah. And I grew up running up under the trees, and I grew up playing in the open fields and meadows and down by the creek, and, you know, ate fruit and vegetables all day, pretty much. I didn't know violence and things like that existed. Wow. And we went to church on the hill. And,
what kind of church?
Well, it was more of your Baptist style.
I was going to say.
Yeah,
I was going to say it had to be Baptist.
Yeah, it was Baptist style. And then my brother got real ill when I was 10 years old, and we moved to the inner city, which is Mobile, had almost 1 million people, and I was devastated. I got exposed to, you know, my brothers and siblings getting killed. I got exposed to the drugs. Started getting involved in those types of things, got exposed to sex at an early age, and all of the negative influences that attributes to a young person losing
that neighborhood
sense
stuff.
Yes, and so I grew up, and I got out of the church, and did the things of the world.
Now, did you trust Jesus Christ in that church?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Christ was the center of my life,
wow.
And we went to church on a regular basis, and we knew what was right and we knew what was wrong. But the difficulty was when the world is gravitating to you and telling you, hey, here's what I can offer you, as opposed to saying, look, I see the same sermon, I hear the same songs, and you become complacent with what is important.
So poverty, riches.
Yes.
What you're going to choose.
And what happened to me is how I arrived to the book. I had lost sight of my worth. I had lost it. I had lost the fact that I used to commune with God. I was in His presence. And now I'm in the presence of people of, you know, having drugs and the nightlife of the clubs and the celebrity status and what the world had to give me.
You're this big, good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And you're going,
extremely physically fit.
they're treating me good,
They're
right?
treating me good. They're telling me what I wanted to hear. They're telling me that the world had more to offer than Jesus Christ. Wow. And because, you know, I didn't grow up with a father, I don't even know who my biological father is. So not growing up with the father created that insecurity or that uncertainty about who I was.
Now, there's a lot of that goes on in the African American community.
Yes.
What's the deal?
I think the biggest part is what I talk a lot about in my book.
Self-esteem.
It's self-esteem. It's self-worth.
Yeah.
But make sure you understand, when we talk about self-esteem and self-worth, these are concepts we learned. So a community teaches a man how to become a man. So you become confident in being a man. But what God did for me, He explained it differently to me as I began to develop and raising my own 2 daughters now. I had to understand that self-worth, self-esteem, self-love, all these things are learned. But what God had created was a magnificent creature, which means it has worth, regardless of those things that I needed to reflect my human worth.
You're in His image.
I'm in His image. I'm wonderfully made.
Yeah.
It's like Rebecca talks about it in chapter 1, I think verse 13. She talks about Adam, how Adam walked with God. More importantly, the point is that Adam walked with God. If that is the case, then God can't be in the presence of iniquity, which means Adam was perfect.
Wow.
Which means when we
and yet he messed up.
And yet he messed up.
So even with a perfect environment, because you didn't have a perfect environment.
No, it did not.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That you have to determine, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Because even in a perfect environment, there's temptation.
Absolutely. And for me, that was the biggest thing of becoming aware of my worth. Then the most important thing, I have never seen God, and I don't know about anybody else. And because I had never seen God, I'm this gladiator.
Yeah.
I'm benching 500 pounds when I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I max out.
Now you were...
I was a running back, a fullback.
You were a number 10 draft.
Yes, I was the 10th pick. And back in the day, today they don't even do the 10th pick anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, that was substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, they took a risk.
Okay, can you, very quickly, take me from this messed up kid in this crazy neighborhood and good and bad and rich and poor and all of this kind of stuff that's going on and prejudices and everything.
Yes.
How do you get through high school, college, Kansas City Chiefs?
You know how the footprints in the sand is the best analogy I can give to you. It's when I was all alone and I only saw one set of footprints. In the back of my mind, I knew God was carrying me, because I had been taught from a child what was right and what was wrong. And then I had people who were God-fearing people that mentored me and carried me through and got me through. Even though I rebelled on numerous occasions on their principles and their teaching, I always could reflect on the Word of God, that I had a birthright, that I was significant, that I was worthwhile, I was deserving, that I was priceless. For Jesus to come off of the throne, to give up His power, to then get up on that cross, and to be crucified for me.
Was His blood pouring down that cross?
Yes.
Once and for all.
And then, and when they nailed that nail in His hand and it splattered, those are the things that came out on me, which was His grace, His kindness and His mercy, His thoughtfulness, His compassion, His understanding of what He had created. And then
you couldn't get that out of your head.
And I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get out the fact that how could the very creator of me come in the very image of me? Wow. He wanted to demonstrate to me that I've gone to a place where no man has gone that is alive. I've tasted death for you. Wow. And that's the journey that stayed in my mind. And then I begin to do what most people need to do. My mom had a 3rd grade education. My brothers, my brother Lee got his brain shot out. My brother William, got his esophagus shot out. And I can go on. My sisters was babies having babies at an early age. Education was not emphasized. I was pretty much a child who didn't supposed to make it.
The most unlikely to make it.
Unlikely to make it. I was supposed to be that child who was supposed to be the statistics and the tax dollars you're paying was supposed to be for me. I'm one of those kids who defied the odds, coming from a family of 21 kids. Come on, and so I had to go back and I'm getting emotional about it.
God bless you, buddy.
I had to go back.
Don't ever lose that.
Yeah.
Don't ever lose that.
Because I had to go back and reflect on who I was, and that's the hardest part of it, that most people are in such a frantic pace of achievements. They think their relationship with Christ or in the world is trying to measure up to the standards of other people, and that's not who we are.
Praise God.
When you're a Christian, you have to die daily.
That's right.
And that's a tough battle.
Yeah. I'm crucified with Christ.
Yeah. But the problem is, when we come into the church, especially me, I still had this past that I didn't throw in the depths of the sea and remember it no more. So God had to use me. He told me in the book, when I was writing the book, you can't write another Bible. It's already written. He says, I need you to reflect on you so that you can come to where I am. You have to take responsibility for your past and mature and be more responsible so that you can raise your 2 daughters, so that you can stay married, so that you can be a respectable person in the community.
So you're breaking that chain that you were linked to.
You got it. That's it, Herman. That's exactly it. And so what I did, I discovered what was called pretty much my social stewardship in my relationship to this earth. I had to go back and reflect on who I was. I'm a human being created by God. 40 million sperm cells from my father, whoever he may be, chased after my mom's one egg.
Wow.
Out of that 40 million, they average about 6 will get there, they say. And I beat
You're a miracle.
And I'm a miracle. I beat my brothers and sisters.
You're a miracle.
But that's the power of God. Yeah. And he chose me out of all my siblings who could have made it. Wow. And that's everybody that's out there. You're wonderfully made. You're no mistake. But until you go back and reflect on your life, calm your mind, silence your mind, and listen to the Holy Spirit, you're not going to move forward. You're going to do what everybody do. We play church.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is not a game. I played the games in football. We were given the plays and the playbook.
You put the uniform on.
We put it on.
And you ran out on the field with the cheers.
Yes. But this is the game of life. This is eternal salvation that most people are playing with.
Yeah. Wow.
But they don't know who they are. And so when you can't discover...
And that's what you teach in these seminars you have.
I teach this. I teach stewardship, corporations and businesses and groups. You can't preach to everybody.
Yeah.
So you have to be practical in your approach. And that's why the social stewardship of teaching. For an example, I teach corporations about empathy and compassion. Don't have people to choose between they're going to eat for shelter and food and clothing, to compromise and being honest with integrity in your corporation or your business. Wow. If you're going to lead people, it's very important that you understand that if you don't know who you are,
that's right,
it's difficult to lead others as well as those who've lost sight of who they are.
Oh, that's good.
So you have to have a relationship with God in order to maximize your true potential.
That's the start.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the foundation. See, I know who God is, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy in my skin. I'm happy with the decisions I've made at this point in my life now because I've given them to God and He has renewed in me the right spirit.
Praise God. What did it feel like to play for the Tampa Bay Bucks?
It was a like you said, it was a joy because you got thousands of people.
You played in those orange uniforms,
yes.
didn't you? Yeah. From red to orange.
Right. Because you have to understand what the world does when you're an athlete. The world puts you on a pedestal.
Yeah.
The world tells you you're great. And the human mind perceives it and translates that as being, if you're not balanced in a relationship with Jesus Christ, you become arrogant. You don't mean to, but it's part of what sin does in our lives.
I'm just reminded, I was just listening to the radio and this preacher was saying that he goes to a lot of rescue missions. He said, recently I met what formerly was a famous basketball player.
Yeah.
He was sitting on the curb, nothing. The only thing he had was the clothes on his back. At one time he was a millionaire. That's what can happen when you lose what you're talking about.
Yeah. And see, and what you're saying about him, he fell, and I talk about that in my book. He fell from the ladder of success in the human element or the human life. Now the person, if he doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, he feels worthless. Because achievements, we live in a capitalist society, which is a great society. But at the same time, you have to balance your approach in material possessions.
Exactly. Don't let it control you.
You must control it.
Exactly.
And so when he
That's what your book says.
Yeah, and when you fall from the ladder of success, then what happens is you then devalue what God had created. You see, and that's the biggest issue that most people are facing today in terms of their worth.
You have had everything happen, even in college. In your book you talk about the college coach wanted to alter your scholarship.
Yes.
Tell that story, because you talk about a blow. You worked to get there.
Yes.
And what does he want to do?
He wanted to give me financial aid because I came from the inner city and basically told me, I'm going to put you on financial aid. And I was one of the best players on the team.
And you had gotten there on a scholarship.
I'd gotten there on a scholarship.
Athletic college scholarship. And he wanted to give it to someone else?
Someone else, and didn't tell me. And I was told when I got in line to register for the next semester. And so the coach and I parted ways because I didn't agree with that principle.
Well, I guess not.
And I ended up not playing my junior year. Yeah. And you know the probability, and this is why I knew it was God. The probability of an athlete setting out his junior year, coming back his senior year, and the only player on the team at Southern University to be drafted that year was me.
That's God.
That's God. Because God had...
You know why? Because you can't explain it.
That's exactly right. And that is the power of God in us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want answers to things that we just have to trust by faith. You know, we have to walk by faith and not by sight.
Yes.
And this is the thing that I had to discover in my journey.
Wow. You said, I promised myself that failure was not an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, who put that there? Because that's like nailing a thesis on the door.
Yes.
This is me, and this I'm not moving from this.
I found a way to do what millions of Americans or people around the world are labeled with, and that is the fear of success, the fear of failure. They both contribute to the worthlessness we feel about ourselves because it diminishes our relationship with the Creator. And when people come into an understanding that they cannot give the power that God has given them to come to Him, to the things of the world, then they will understand what they can accomplish.
And you came from a dysfunctional family.
Yes.
I mean,
poverty,
the whole
uneducation, violence, drugs, all those things were very prevalent in that environment. It was very prevalent. And my mom was a praying mother. She passed away November 5th of last year at the age of 86. And God rest her soul. And I can still see her compassion. Yes. Yeah. I wasn't there when she took her last breath. My sisters and brothers, they were all there with the pastor, and they watched her take her last breath. But I'm very blessed because I had this beautiful mother who's very pure, because my mother was the kind, she fed everybody in the neighborhood. She took care of people, even with the little that we had. She understood compassion. And that's where I get it from today, empathy. Why I want to teach people who they are. What gives your life meaning? What is your purpose in life? God has a purpose for you. And if you understand that, then you'll understand the power of what he created. You see, we are so deserving of existence. To be alive, wow, is such a beautiful thing from God.
Wow. Eagle Quest Group, what is that?
It's a training and development company. And what I focus on is human worth. From a biblical teaching, I have written a curriculum that teaches the social stewardship of what people need to understand in their lives from a practical standpoint, in their business, in their family, in their home. It's about the choices we're making that is diminishing our relationship with Jesus Christ.
And you teach self-respect, self-dignity, self-pride, attitude, all of those things.
That are learned.
That are learned.
It has nothing to do with who we are if we understand the Creator who created us. Because if we don't reflect, if we don't examine self, one of the greatest points about examining yourself is that you understand you have limits.
Wow.
And people, most time, they don't realize they have limits. And that's where the boastfulness, the arrogance, or the self-centeredness overwhelms them, and they become so proudful, they struggle to have a relationship with God. And I was there at one point in my life. I was taught to be a gladiator, to be one of the best.
And it felt good to hit.
And it felt good to hit and win. It's always about winning.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you push people away. You think you're on an island. We all need each other.
Did you sign autographs?
Yes.
What did that feel like?
It felt like you were responsible for impacting the lives of others. People valued your role in society. To me, I was just at that time, I saw myself as just a great athlete. I didn't see myself as a role model the way I understand it today.
He's got a picture in the book, some other pictures too, of the way he looked. That was a physique.
Yes, I was a specimen. I didn't have a six-pack, I had an eight-pack. I was built for the cause. I was benching 500 pounds. I was squatting, power cleaning, 1,000, it was crazy what you can do to the physical body. Because when people have told you in life you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never amount to much.
And look at your background.
And then
you'll never get out of
You'll never get out of this condition. You don't supposed to be here. You don't supposed to go to college. That's why when I got to college, I had all these negative influences in the occipital of the brain telling me what I couldn't do. No longer did anyone have to tell me anymore what I couldn't do. I was acting it out. It had become a part of who I was, or who they told me who I was, because I didn't have a sense of self.
When did that day you woke up and said, I'm not accepting that?
I think it was the day, when I became fully aware that I needed to be back in the church. That's when it began. Then God revealed to me. Then when you go to church, let me tell you, the people in the church are not perfect. Most of the people there are struggling. It's the fact that they are there. And I have a belief if you just keep coming, you'll get through what you're going through.
That's good advice.
You just keep coming.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. No matter if you've done something that people don't agree with. just keep coming.
Share Christ with someone. That's your camera right there. Somebody needs your advice right now. They need your words. It can change their life right now. That's your camera.
Yeah, and you just have to keep coming. And if you keep coming, if you have a wife or a loved one that sometimes you feel frustrated with telling you to come on, you should be in church today, keep coming. Keep coming, because your kids needs to see that you believe that there's a living God. And the morals and the values and the standards that you're trying to set, they'll unfold itself if you just keep coming. If you just keep moving forward. Don't let friends tell you that the pastor is this or the church members are that. You go into the church and make the difference in the church by letting your life be a testimony of who Jesus Christ really is.
Good preaching.
You got to keep coming, because as long as I kept coming to church with my wife, I went back out into the world from time to time and I struggled. But as long as I kept coming, and it got me to a place where I don't drink, I don't go to nightclubs, and I'm not judging you, and I'm not telling you to judge me that way, because see, I have a sense of worth now. I know my birthright. I'm not like what happened to Esau. Esau was resentful even though he repented, but when Jesus Christ made the sacrifice, he gave me a second chance, and he gave Esau a second chance. But at that moment when Esau only wanted the lentil soup, his appetite over his spiritual blessing. And that's what's in the church for you, that spiritual blessing, not the appetite of the things of the world. You see, when you're ready to let go of those things and let God, then you're going to understand how powerful you really can be. You don't have to hide behind a mask or a facade. You don't. And so I encourage you to keep coming. And in order to keep coming, like I had to, you're going to have to let go. Let go of those things that you think is attributing to why you're feeling worthless, or you've been hurt by. I was abused as a child. And being abused as a child, you would want to feel shameful and guiltful.
Wow.
Well, guess what? I don't feel the shame. It's the person who committed the act needs to feel the guilt and shame.
Amen.
Because I'm a child of the King. And see, when you hurt another human being, what you just said is you don't see the value of that human being. So that means you don't have a relationship with God when you're hurting someone.
Amen.
And that's not what God created. So I encourage you to just keep coming.
Jesus Christ is the answer to every need you may have.
Amen.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Bill Malone of Christian Television Network's Plan Giving Department. Did you know that a will is one of the most important documents that you will ever sign? Yet a majority of Americans die each year with no will, and so the government receives a large percentage of their estate in taxes and fees. We can help you eliminate this loss with our free Guide to Wills and Trusts booklet. Call the number on your screen or go to our website for further information. Your long-range plans deserve special attention.
Watch Life Today, weekdays as James and Betty Robison provide real answers to real problems through compelling guests and miraculous testimonies. Witness God's love through inspiration, hope, and life. Join us in making a real difference in our world by changing countless lives and building stronger families. Don't miss Life Today with James and Betty Robison, weekdays on this station.
30 years ago, I was sitting in front of the television set in my home, and a word was spoken that forever altered my life. And that's exactly what happens every day whenever CTN programming is going into people's homes. And that's why it's so important that as believers and as people who really want to change lives, we gather together and give of our resources so that CTN can remain on the air.
Watch now as I take you down a road that is less traveled in the field of medicine.